City is not a choice or an option, it's a responsibility. And my team and I look forward to working with you to make that promise a reality.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
¿Trabaja en la ciudad de Nueva York? ¿Tienen empleados en la ciudad de Nueva York? Soy Julie Menon, la comisionada del Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor.
Queremos informarles sobre la nueva ley de ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad. Esta ley le exige a la mayoría de los empresarios que les concedan a sus trabajadores permiso laboral por motivos de enfermedad, para cuidar de sí mismos o de algún familiar. Llame al 311 o visite nyc.gov y busque Paid Sick Leave para saber si usted está amparado por esta ley.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. In February, taxpayers receive their W-2 forms from employers and can start to file their taxes. Did you know that many families qualify for the federal Earned Income Tax Credit and don't do the paperwork to apply? If you qualify, the credits could be worth up to $8,000. Find out if you qualify by visiting manhattanbp.nyc.gov/tax credits.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Did you know that New York City has a store? Well, it does. It's the City Store, the official store for the City of New York, where you can find everything from gifts and collectibles to municipal publications like the Green Book, and including a diverse collection of books about New York. So come to the City Store, located in the North Plaza of the Municipal Building. For more information, dial 311 or visit www.nyc.gov.
Hi, I'm Victor Calisi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. Are you a tenant with a disability? Do you receive federal assistance such as SSI or SSDI? If you live in a rent-regulated apartment and earn $50,000 a year or less, you may be able to freeze your rent. Contact 311 or visit nyc.gov/rent-freeze to learn more about the New York City Rent Freeze program.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Do you work in New York City? Do you employ anyone in New York City? I'm Julie Menon, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and we want you to learn about the city's new paid sick leave law, which requires most employers to allow sick leave so employees can care for themselves or a family member. Call 311 or visit nyc.gov and search paid sick leave to find out if the law applies to you. Together, we can keep businesses strong and keep New Yorkers healthy.
Hi, I'm Maria Torres Springer, the Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services. If you're thinking about starting, operating, or growing a business, we can help. New York City Business Solutions offers free services, including business courses, pro bono legal assistance, help getting financing, and much more. We can also save your business time and money by helping you train and hire the best people. For more information, call 311 and ask for NYC Business Solutions. Visit us online at www.nyc.gov/SBS or follow us on Twitter at NYCBUS Solutions.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
The city's Comptroller Bureau of Law and Adjustment settles and adjusts claims filed for and against the city. 30,000 claims are filed every year, and we are working hard every day to process these claims in the fastest way possible. Did you know you can file a claim online? Just visit comptroller.nyc.gov and click on Forms and RFPs. There you can also find helpful information and step-by-step instructions on how to file electronically or manually. If you've received notice that your case has been settled, please allow 90 days from the date the city receives your closing papers for payments to be processed and sent.
Hello, I'm Parks Commissioner Mitchell Silver. New York City Parks is fostering equity in our parks by creating thriving public spaces for all New Yorkers. The Community Parks Initiative is bringing that work to neighborhoods that need it most by investing more city resources, including funds, staff, recreational programming, and partnership building in 55 historically under-resourced communities. The Community Parks Initiative will engage New Yorkers in rebuilding their parks, including 35 playgrounds in the project's first phase. Our goal will create new reasons to get out and get fit, and to connect more of us to green spaces in our neighborhoods. For more information on the Community Parks Initiative, upcoming public meetings, and to find out how you can get involved, visit the New York City Parks website at nyc.gov/parks or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Soy Julie Menon, comisionada del Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor, preguntándole qué haría con su reembolso de impuestos.
Si usted gana menos de $60,000, la ciudad de Nueva York podría ayudarle a presentar su declaración de impuestos de forma gratuita y segura. Usted podrá reclamar créditos tributarios por ingreso de trabajo o por cuidado de menores, lo que podría resultar en hasta $10,000. Visite nyc.gov o llame al 311 y pida ayuda para preparar impuestos.
Hi, I'm Jacques Chiha, Commissioner of the Department of Finance. Are you 62 or older? If you live in a rent-regulated apartment and earn $50,000 a year or less, you may be able to freeze your rent. Contact 311 or visit nyc.gov/rentfreeze. Relais 311 pour joindre plus d'informations sur le programme municipal de Ville New York qui empêchait prix loyer ou augmenter.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Bill Chong, Commissioner of the Department of Youth and Community Development. Certain New Yorkers who came to the U.S. as children may receive protection from immigration legal action and become eligible for work authorization under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. DYCD is partnering with community-based organizations to provide free immigrant legal services and adult education classes. For more information, call 311 or visit nyc.gov/DYCD.
Hi, I'm Maria Torres Springer, the Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services. If you're looking for a job, want to change careers, or need job training, we can help. Our Workforce One career centers located in all 5 boroughs provide free services for job seekers. Our centers can provide you with career advice, help you with your job search, place you in a job, and of course, offer job training. For more information, call 311 and ask for Workforce One. Visit us online at www.nyc.gov/workforce1 or follow us on Twitter at NYC Workforce One.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Trees count. Can we count on you? Hello, I'm Parks Commissioner Mitchell Silver. Trees Count 2015 is recruiting volunteers to map the street trees along every single block in 2015 from May through November. Trees are an integral part of New York City's landscape and provide essential benefits such as clean air and water. We need your help to record the most accurate tree census ever taken in New York City. Register online to become a volunteer and help us gather the information we need about your local trees. Visit nyc.gov/parks/trees count or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, this is Queensborough President Melinda Katz, and I would like to invite you to come see the World's Borough. Our borough has 2.3 million residents and hosts over 130 different languages. Visit one of our cultural institutions, taste foods from across the globe at a local restaurant, take a ride on our subway lines, explore our beaches or our 16,000 acres of parkland. To learn more, join our mailing list at info@queensbp.org or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/QueensBPCats.
This is New York City Controller Scott Stringer. It's my job to safeguard New York's fiscal health, to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in the city budget, and make sure all agencies work efficiently to serve your needs. The City Controller's Office is working hard to ensure that your tax dollars are being spent on programs that create good-paying jobs and help all New Yorkers climb the economic ladder. As City Controller, one of my most important responsibilities is to manage New York City's 5 pension funds, which are valued at more than $160 billion in assets. Public pensions safeguard retirement security for over 700,000 active and retired civil servants. My goal is
All right, welcome everyone. Well, we just had a very productive meeting with members of our congressional delegation. I want to thank all of them. Every time we get together, a very thoughtful, constructive conversation about the things we need to do in Washington to help the people of New York City. This delegation has distinguished itself by coming to the aid of our city and going to bat for our city so many times. I want to remind you that some of the challenges we've faced in recent years, Sandy being one of the most obvious, where this delegation as a whole, and a special thank you to Senator Schumer, got us the fairness in the Sandy response that so many wanted to deny us in Washington, but this delegation achieved that for the people of New York City and have been there every step of the way with us since. As we face the threat of Ebola, the same tremendous support and follow-through that helped us to deal with that crisis, the same obviously on many, many occasions when it's come to issues of homeland security and fairness for our first responders. So this is an accomplished group in terms of protecting interests of New York City consistently in Washington, no matter how tough the backdrop. But today, we want to talk about something that I think for a lot of us is really beyond the pale, which is the notion that Republicans in the House of Representatives are standing in the way of homeland security funding for our entire nation. And for all of us in New York City, this is a particularly troubling dynamic because we're the #1 terror target. We know it. We are fighting this battle every single day. We're applying huge amounts of local resources to fighting terrorism because we know that we are targeted all the time. We expect our federal government to stand with us. And so even though all of us are a bit jaded about the paralysis we see sometimes in Washington, I certainly thought that Homeland Security was an area where there should be a real consensus and partisanship would be put aside. Well, the House Republicans obviously don't feel that way. They have been attempting to link Homeland Security funding to other issues inappropriately, unfairly, and I might add dangerously, because anything that would undermine our ability to protect ourselves goes against the very notion of what government is here to do. I emphasize that we have the world's finest police force here in New York City, and we apply immense resources and personnel to fighting terrorism. We know we can do a lot to protect ourselves, but we never thought we'd have to protect ourselves without the partnership of the federal government. And if this situation is not reversed, that's exactly what we'll be dealing with. We believe there's no reason in the world to link Homeland Security funding to other issues like immigration reform. I'm going to work for comprehensive immigration reform, as is everyone here. We're doing a lot with mayors around the country to prepare to implement the President's executive action on immigration. But that's a separate discussion by definition. Homeland Security should stand alone because it has everything to do with our core responsibility for protecting our people. Just want to say a couple of words in Spanish before turning to Senator Schumer and Congressman Rangel, and then we'll open it up for your questions on these issues. Hoy me reuní con legisladores federales para asegurar que la ciudad de Nueva York tenga los recursos necesarios para prevenir actos terroristas. También hemos renovado nuestro apoyo a las medidas migratorias del presidente y a la reforma migratoria. With that, man, I have to say, over these last 14 months has been an absolutely extraordinary and consistent partner in all we've done. A lot of the great things that have happened to New York City in the last 14 months are because of our senior senator, Chuck Schumer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you both for the outstanding job you're doing, but also for your great cooperation. You're always reaching out to all of us in the New York congressional delegation. Yes, that's okay. There we go. In the New York congressional delegation to see how you can help and how we can work together, and it's really a delight. Now, we've had a successful working relationship over the last year. Obviously, Sandy relief, huge amounts of money for the city, some of the largest amounts of grants from the federal government to any locality at any time in the face of a disaster. $1.6 billion in public assistance grants for resilience work at the Health and Hospitals Corporation, That was the second largest FEMA public assistance grant in history, the largest in 428. Money for public housing, for the boilers, to fix up all of Coney Island, hundreds of millions of dollars. They were hammered by Superstorm Sandy, billions of dollars for transportation infrastructure, the kinds of things we need to build our city, not the same as before Sandy, but better, because we wrote resiliency into the law. And just recently, we were able to secure funds for Ebola. Our city at Bellevue, our hospitals, had laid out lots of money to fight Ebola. Thank God that problem didn't spread in the city, but it's because of the great work of the city, and we've gotten tens of millions of dollars for both Bellevue and for our private hospitals that laid out money. Whether it's Head Start or rail safety, public housing, we're working together. But today we're here to talk about Homeland Security. We were struck over a decade ago by a horrible act of terror. It's surreal to even mention a debate over the funding of Homeland Security here in New York. This is the department that pays for the TSA screening weapons on planes, for Border Patrol agents that prevent trafficking of drugs and weapons. Our fire departments, our police departments, our first responders depend on this. In fighting terror, we've worked very hard to get a good formula in Homeland Security for UASI, anti-terror money. New York gets more of that money far and away than any other place. Securing the cities, which is nuclear detectors at each of the major entrance points to the city. All of those things are funded by Homeland Security. Homeland Security is vital to our safety, and it's hard to believe that with the terror threat escalated the way it is, that our colleagues in the House, our Republican colleagues in the House, are actually holding this up. They managed to get a 7-day extension passed by the skin of their teeth and only with the help of my colleagues here from the Democratic side of the aisle. So, today we are urging Speaker Boehner to take the lifeline that Mitch McConnell threw him and grab it. Fully fund Homeland Security this week. We cannot keep doing these 1-week or 2-week extensions. It's like going on a 300-mile trip in your car and filling up with $5 of gas every few weeks. It's horrible. And even when we do these continuing resolutions, the money is not there for the things we need and are vital. So, we need Homeland Security funded. We need it funded now. The very people, House Republicans, who pride themselves on security, are holding it up for a debate. We are happy, we welcome in the Senate, and I know in the House, a debate on immigration reform. Let's do it, but let's first pass Homeland Security and we can debate immigration reform, a debate we welcome. But holding hostage, saying we will not fund Homeland Security unless we get our way on immigration reform, puts every one of us in New York at risk, and the games ought to stop. Flood insurance, should I talk a little bit about that? Or? Okay. Flood insurance. The recent revelations are just profound and disturbing. And that's why my colleague, Senator Gillibrand, and I, as well as our two colleagues in New Jersey, Senator Menendez and Senator Booker, have called for a hearing as to what went on. Something is really rotten in the state of Denmark. One engineer who wrote reports about how much damage was done to homes he personally inspected said every one of those reports but 4 was altered. Why were they altered? Who forced them to alter them? And where was FEMA, which is supposed to have oversight here? All these questions need to be answered. That's why we want a full congressional hearing in the Banking Committee, which oversees flood insurance, in which I serve, and hope you'll do it in the House as well. That's why flood insurance is so important. And when you hear what went on, it makes your hair stand on edge. There is certainly wrongdoing, and maybe there's even criminal activity. And I want to salute my colleague, Kirsten Gillibrand, She's been working really long and hard on this as well, and we will get to the bottom of this. We will not let a stone go unturned till we find out why these reports were altered, who asked them to be altered, and most importantly, to get all the homeowners who've been robbed, literally robbed, their full recompense that they deserve.
Thank you very much, Senator. Now I want to call forward the Dean of our House delegation, Congressman Charlie Rangel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to thank Chuck Schumer, not only for the leadership that he has continuously provided for our delegation, but now more than ever, the leadership he's providing for the country in guiding the House of Representatives through the maze and the problems that we're facing on a weekly basis. I want to thank the mayor for his continued cooperation with the New York delegation. These type of meetings and exchanges makes it possible for us to be better legislators. He listens to the problems that we have on a local level, and we more than are glad to meet the challenges that New York City faces, because on a national level, New York City is leading. So whether it's immigration, housing, economic growth, or infrastructure, they're depending on our delegation and our mayor, and they provide leadership for the country, and we're proud to be a part of that process.
Thank you very much, Congressman. We're going to take your questions on any and all federal matters, and my colleagues will jump in as they see fit. Yes.
Mayor or Senator, you guys mentioned the TSA and some other homeland security areas. If this is not renewed next week, let's say, what will be there still and what will disappear as far as security?
Just want to emphasize before I turn to the Senator, look, again, every day we don't have federal support is a day we're less safe. Again, the city of New York has tremendous resources. We apply almost 1,000 counterterrorism officers, a tremendous amount of hardware that we put into keeping our people safe, and we're going to keep doing that regardless of what Washington does, but we can't do it as well without constant federal support and partnership. It's part of what Commissioner Bratton has really emphasized, the partnership with the federal agencies. It's hard to have partnership with an agency that's shut down, and it makes us all less safe. Senator?
Yeah. Well, first of all, large parts of the department would simply not be paid. So here we have TSA agents who are supposed to be very careful about making sure guns, explosives, and other dangerous things don't go through the security lines. Well, when you're not getting paid, is that going to affect things? Then we have money for different grants. Our firefighters, our police departments depend on various monies for grants. Those are stopped. We have biometrics at the border to prevent terrorists and others from coming across. The moving forward on that ends. Secret Service reform. We all saw what happened at the White House. That stops. There are so many different areas. FEMA money that our people depend on stopped. And FEMA is not regarded as an emergency. You know, the kinds of FEMA money, some of them that are going to us are not emergencies, so those stop altogether. Homeland Security is one of the most important departments with one of the greatest effects on New York. And everywhere you look, water, air, land, you will see funding stopped involving our security.
Congressman Joe Crowley.
Let me, first of all, applaud the work of the Senate and Senator Schumer and Gillibrand from our delegation. But I also want to thank Mitch McConnell for recognizing that holding hostage Homeland Security because you don't like the executive action the president took wasn't just stupid and dumb, it was dangerous. He recognized that. I believe it took a little while, but I believe a number of our colleagues now on the Republican side of the aisle in the House are coming to that same conclusion, although we've had a much more difficult time convincing members of the Republican House of Representative leadership, as well as the rank and file members of the Republican Party, to support a clean bill. But I believe when all is said and done, we will have a clean funding bill for Homeland Security through the rest of this fiscal year, which would end in September.
Congressman Jerry Nadler. Hold on, let me bring this up for you.
Thank you very much. I also believe that we will have a clean bill by the end of this week after a lot of Sturm und Drang. But I just want to comment on one thing. What you have here, up until this point, is the Republicans playing government by blackmail. They say that what the president did, which we think is on immigration reform is a good thing, They say that it's beyond his powers. Well, that's why we have courts. We have courts to determine whether a government official acted beyond his powers or not. It's in court. But they have chosen to blackmail the country by saying, we are going to make you less safe. We are going to make you more susceptible to terrorist attacks until we get our way. And, well, in order for you to feel safe from terrorist attacks, you have to vote to change the president's policy, because we don't trust the courts and we don't trust the constitutional process. We believe in government by blackmail. We're going to put people's lives at risk, many, many people's lives at risk, in order to get our way, rather than go through the normal constitutional ways. That cannot be allowed to stand on the merits. It cannot be allowed to stand in terms of the risk to the public, and it cannot be allowed to and it won't stand. We're going to win this week, but it cannot be allowed to stand in terms of the way that that we do business.
Other questions? Other questions? Yes.
Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to be speaking to Congress tomorrow, and I was wondering if maybe by show of hands, or if each of you wanted to speak to this, if you could each talk about whether or not you are going to be attending this speech and why or why not.
The Netanyahu speech?
Yes, each one of you could talk.
Okay, and first I just want to say, you know, with the House Republicans, nothing's a sure thing here. We're hopeful that things can get passed this week, but we're not sure. And we are urging them to stop playing games with Homeland Security, particularly at this dangerous time. I am going to the speech. I've said I was going from the very beginning. I didn't like how Speaker Boehner handled this. I didn't like the terms by which it was set up. But there are two issues that transcend any back and forth about how the speech came about. One is the American-Israeli relationship, and I am going to show it is strong and vital to both countries. Both countries are in the lead in the fight against terrorism. And the second is preventing a nuclear Iran, which would be a catastrophe. I want to hear what the Prime Minister says. I want to hear what the President has to offer, and then we'll have to weigh it. But I am certainly going to the speech, and never had any doubt that that was what I should be doing.
Let me, hold on 1 second. I'll get this up. Charlie, then Jerry.
I want to make it clear I am not boycotting the speech. I am just not going to the speech. There's nothing that's going to occur next week that should interfere with our relationship with Israel in recognizing that we are joined at the hip, not only as friends, but as relates to national security. I am shocked, I am hurt that the House of Representatives has really reached the point that it would take the national security of the United States and that of our sister friend Israel and make that a partisan issue. Indeed, from what I read in the press, it's even becoming a racial issue as to whether or not members are members of the Black Caucus, whether members are Jewish, whether they're Republican, or whether they're Democrats. In all of the many, many, many years that I have been in Washington and the issue of the survival of Israel has come up, none of these other side questions have ever come up. I think that for me to attend this would be violating the rules of the House of Representatives. Yes, the Speaker invited on behalf of the House, but half of the House are Democrats. That is in terms of being partners in the legislative body. And there was no one on the Democratic side that was a part of that invitation. So I don't blame outsiders for doing whatever they think is in the best interests of their party, their politics, or their country. But I do not think that the House of Representatives should be used as an arena for the debate of international politics. That is why we have a President of the United States. That is why we have a Secretary of State. And so I hope the word boycott is never associated with those who respect the rules of the House, the bipartisanship we enjoy, and the affection and support we have for the government of Israel.
Thank you. Congressman Adler.
Thank you. I intend to attend the speech. I'm very disturbed, as I've said, by how it was brought about, by what the Speaker of the House did. If the Speaker of the House were giving a speech, I might be more tempted to boycott it. But to listen to the Prime Minister of Israel on an important topic, I will certainly go. I want to add one thing, and that is that I am very disturbed at a different thing, and that is that the controversy over the speech, and we all know the controversies and all of it, the controversy over the speech is ultimately not that important compared to the real question, which is how to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear weapons state. That is the real question. That threatens Israel existentially. It threatens the United States militarily. Iran is developing an intercontinental ballistic missile which has no purpose other than to deliver nuclear warhead to North America. They have missiles that can deliver it to Israel and to Europe. So it's a tremendous threat to the United States as well as to Israel. The way the debate is being structured, if a deal is reached, and I hope a good deal is reached, but if a deal is reached, people really aren't looking at the details. What it's going to become politically, I'm afraid, is if you like and trust President Obama, it'll be a good deal. If you don't like and trust President Obama, it'll be a bad deal, instead of looking at what do we need in a good deal? What makes it an adequate deal or an adequate agreement to assure us that Iran won't become a nuclear power? That's what we ought to be debating, and that's what we're going to hopefully be debating. But we have to get to that issue, the merits of whether we have a deal that will be safe for Israel and the United States or not, rather than a controversy that ultimately is far less important.
Okay. Who had it back there? Anyone else wants to join in? Anyone else have a view they want to offer? Whoever wants to join in, feel free.
I will be attending out of respect to the State of Israel. I regret that Speaker Boehner has made this a partisan issue. It should not be a partisan issue. He took the inappropriate steps of inviting a head of state without consulting the President of the United States, without consulting the Vice President, without consulting the Secretary of State or anyone in the State Department, and without consulting Leader Pelosi. He took the extreme step of sending a letter with Leader Pelosi's name on it, inviting a foreign head of state. She never saw the letter. She never signed off on the letter. She had nothing to do with the letter. This is a breach of protocol. It is inappropriate. I will be attending. I support the State of Israel. It should not be a partisan issue.
Thank you.
Let me say this. For the sake of brevity, maybe, I think just about everyone here, I don't want to speak for everyone else will be attending, and they can speak for themselves. That's fine.
I'm sorry, Marcia, that's not really what this press conference is about, so you can talk to them afterwards
So,
separately.
and the one point I will make is that I also intend to attend the address. Just on a light note, Jerry Nadler mentioned speeches by the Speaker. The only speeches the Speaker gives lately is on a tire of members of Congress on the House floor. That's about it. We don't see much of him. But we do feel a reaction of his movements, and that's behind the scenes. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Jerry Nadler and with Carolyn Maloney just said. I do believe that the work of the Speaker has been very unhelpful, but at the same time, we also recognize the importance of this relationship between the United States and Israel, two incredibly important, an incredibly important partnership. Israel finds itself in a sea of undemocratic states. In many respects, we are her best and most reliable ally. I do want to hear what the Prime Minister has to say on this issue, and I hope we can get past the politics of his speaking on the floor and get to the issue of a nuclear Iranian state, and that's the biggest issue, I think.
Okay. Yes.
I was wondering if you guys at all discussed the 11th congressional district, and as a follow-up to that, if potentially a Republican wins the seat, would that actually be a good thing for you guys? You complained a little bit about the House Republicans not being willing to listen, where if you had some sort of emissary on that side of the aisle, it might be helpful.
I think I can summarize for the group. We did not discuss it, and I think we don't take any wooden nickels. So I think we believe that that is a seat that, if represented by a Democrat, more would get done for the people of this city.
How did that work so far?
Yeah, right. Not a great body of evidence. Okay, anything else? Go on. Yes.
Jeffrey, we just haven't heard from you on the Israel issue of the speech. Could you let us know if you'll be going, or?
Thank you. I did inform the people I represent over the last few days, beginning last week, that I will attend the speech. I look forward to hearing what the Prime Minister has to say. I assume he will deliver a strong but respectful address. And then we look forward to hearing from the President, hearing from the P5+1 nation, seeing what comes out of the agreement. And then Congress is going to have to make a decision about our perspective. Though we all agree that a nuclear-capable Iran and their opportunity to weaponize uranium is problematic for the entire world.
Last call. One or two more. Sally. I think Speaker Boehner made a huge mistake, and I think it's you don't politicize the platform of the House of Representatives in the context of another nation's election. It's absolutely unacceptable. There's been a tradition. This is where it's something I think I'm probably preaching to the choir of my colleagues here, but there was a tradition for many years in this country of some actual bipartisan rules, and one of those rules was you don't offer the platform of the opportunity to speak before the Congress of the United States in the midst of another nation's election season. That was a no-fly zone, and for a good reason. We don't. It's not appropriate for us to interfere in the politics of another nation any more than it would be appropriate for them to interfere in our politics. So I think the Speaker did something that was really inappropriate and unfair to all concerned, and it should never happen again.
While it might have something to do with election politics in Israel, they're also frustrated with the Obama administration's policy as it pertains to Israel. So is that not a valid reason for him to seek the money?
Oh, it's valid to have a debate, and it's valid to, I think Congressman Nadler said it perfectly, we should be exceedingly concerned about Israel's safety and security and about what a potential deal with Iran would look like and if it's enough to keep us safe. Those are very, very serious issues. Treat those issues specifically from the perspective of the debate we have to have here in this country, but don't confuse it with an election in a foreign nation. We don't belong in the middle of that. Congresswoman Grace May. Hold on a second. You're up next.
I, too, want to just echo my colleagues' statements. I will be attending Prime Minister Netanyahu's address tomorrow. I disagree strongly with the process that Speaker Boehner used. I disapprove that he used the friendship between Israel and the United States as a political football, and the friendship and security of the Israeli people are too important, so I will be attending.
Congresswoman Blasio.
Good morning, everyone. For me, it is shameful and frustrating that the Speaker of the House, with total disregard to protocol and decorum of the House and the rules, brought us to this point. There's no question in our common goal of making sure that we don't have a nuclear Iran. But the way that the Speaker has gone to do this is disrespectful to us as members of Congress, to say that this was a bipartisan invitation, which it was not. Two, to disrespect the process. How do we know the policies of this administration? Those negotiations are secret. Yes, I'll be attending, but I am very frustrated as a member of Congress to feel that the Speaker of the House, with total disregard, has put us into this predicament. The emails, hundreds of emails, telephone calls that we're getting from one side and the other side, this is not the way to do the people's business.
Amen.
Shame on the Speaker.
Okay, last call. Go ahead. Say again? Okay.
So I'm probably the only one here who has not decided. I'm conflicted. I'll be meeting with some of my constituents in Washington, D.C., who are there attending the APAC conference, and I will be issuing a statement shortly thereafter.
We're going to work with Senator Schumer. We're just deeply, deeply concerned that people have been ripped off here. So we're going to work closely with Senator Schumer and our colleagues in the delegation to figure out what happened here and how to protect the homeowners involved. I think there's a lot we have to do to find out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again. Of course. Anytime, look, these are people who went through hell after Sandy, who've had enough trouble as it is, and to find that they may be now victims of a crime against them. And we particularly need to understand what the role of the insurance companies was in this. I think it would be particularly heinous if insurance companies took advantage of people who were hurting so much after Sandy. Jen, last call.
I have an off-topic question. What is the story today about your relationship?
Say again.
I have an off-topic question. Made a story in the news about your relationship with Governor Cuomo. You were frustrated.
Well, your story, I haven't read it yet, but it strikes me as based on some thin evidence. The bottom line, I've said this many, many times, and I think we should move on to the substance rather than talk about the personalities. I've been a friend of the governor's for 20 years. We work closely together. There's a lot of areas we agree. There are some areas we disagree. I went to Albany on Wednesday, literally laid that out. Appreciate his support for mayoral control of education, for example. I appreciate some of the important reforms he's put in his budget. I think his juvenile justice reform is absolutely historic and crucial. Disagree with him on some other areas. Disagree with him on putting more emphasis on high-stakes testing in education. Disagree with some of the actions that the state has proposed vis-a-vis homelessness and the support that we're lacking from the state in terms of combating homelessness. So I think that's pretty normal. And I think that the personality issue is not the concern here. The concern is what are the interests of the people in New York City, and are they being attended to in Albany? And I'll give you another example. I talked about the campaign for fiscal equity. This is something I would hope all of you would look at. We had a decision by the State Court of Appeals, the highest court in New York State, in the last decade that said New York City had been shortchanged on education funding by a huge amount. For 1 year and 1 year only, that funding was adjusted in our favor by Governor Spitzer. Then the economic crisis hit, and there was a broad consensus that it would take time to address the goal. You've got a state right now that claims openly an almost $8 billion surplus, but is doing nothing to address the historic inequity in education funding and the fact that we have been shortchanged for so long. That's what we should be talking about. It's not about personalities. It's about whether the people in New York City are being treated fairly in Albany. Hold on. Just finish. Just let her finish. Go ahead.
Do you personally feel that he's trying to do little things like hold...
I don't get into the personality discussion. Jen, you can ask all the times you want. I'm focused on the substance and getting things done for New York City. Thank you. I've said it so many times, guys. Come on.